Hello, everyone, and welcome to Inside the Newsroom. I'm Maddie Paul. Inside the Newsroom, we talk about the trending stories of the KELOLAND area, and we bring in our newsroom staff members right here to the digital desk to talk about the stories that they've created. So you get a behind-the-scenes look at their perspective and passions that go into the storytelling that you see every day on our newscasts and on KELOLAND.com. To start, yesterday was a very busy day for KELOLAND, especially in the newsroom, because we were watching the prison task force meeting. Now, Project Prison Reset has agreed to present a prison recommendation to the legislature as that meeting concluded, their final meeting yesterday. And our digital reporter Ray Yost is joining me now because she watched that entire stream yesterday, all that meeting going on. And Ray, I want to start with, by the afternoon, the task force had two questions to answer. What are they going to build and where is it going to be? So how did they come up with that answer?
Well, if you look to the afternoon, they had to answer those two questions. But it really started in the morning where you could start to see it happening when they got a survey from the DOC employees who work in Sioux Falls. And most of them said, Mitchell was a possible site. Worthing was another possible site. Most of them said they were okay with commuting to Worthing, but not with commuting to Mitchell. So that was an indication that, maybe we're going to make some cuts here to look at some of the plans. Well, the other indication was there was a lot of feedback saying that there was strong opposition to locating a prison near Mitchell, and there was strong opposition to locating a prison near Worthing. So those sites basically were eliminated pretty early on. Mm-hmm. So then you're left with a site that was called the Sweetman Properties in Sioux Falls, and another one that wasn't in the plan, the 14 plans, but is called the Benson Road site. That is really similar to the Sweetman site. So you're essentially left with two sites in Sioux Falls, and the possibility there could be part of a project at Mike Durfee in Springfield and or at the North Farm, which is just north of the existing men's prison. So it kind of evolved in steps like that where, they said, okay, yeah, it looks like folks don't want to commute, and then worked into these two sites don't seem to work for us outside of Sioux Falls.
And then by the afternoon, many motions were going through to actually present a recommendation. So what did they land on? Yeah,
how they landed on that, or what they landed on, was the $650 million for a 1,500-bed facility, broken up to 1,200 cells. That's how you think of a cell, and then 300 dorm, which aren't like college dorms, but more like barracks with bunk beds and things, and at a site in Sioux Falls. One site. So they didn't say, let's go to Mike Durfee, or, my understanding is they said, let's not go to the North Farm. So, but there was a lot of discussion because they had originally wanted, the consultants were tasked with a $600 million budget for 1,500 beds. So there was a lot of discussion about, do we have 650? Should we spend 650? And there were several task force members and then an appropriation member, Representative Derby, who said, we have the money to do more. And then there were a lot of questions about what was going on in some other states, lengthy discussion about, well, why is Nebraska getting this for less money? Why are they getting roughly 1,200 beds for $313 million. I say that wrong every time. $313 million. And there's discussion about, they can't get a lot of information from Nebraska, which I have to add, that kind of made me feel good because I had tried to find information in Nebraska and it was extremely difficult. So there was a lot of discussion, a lot of talk about what about this, what about that. Eventually, the best way to describe it is there was a compromise on the $650 million, 1,500 beds, and the breakup of it, 1,200, 300 dorm.
This meeting took basically almost all day, a working day, honestly, a full 8 hours or more. And is this something that you're kind of familiar doing, like watching these types of meetings and constantly updating our website article as you had been doing yesterday?
Yeah, it's something that throughout my career I'm accustomed to doing, maybe a little bit different style. When you're able to watch the live stream, which we do so well, then you're able to be in the office and at your computer taking notes or updating as you go. More often it's been where you, bring your laptop, go to a meeting that's really long, update the story during breaks or over a lunch hour. So it's a similar format that I'm used to doing. It's a little bit easier because we do the live stream and you can be at your computer doing those updates as we speak. And it's fun to do it in this aspect of if people are watching, they're hearing it, but they can also follow along in the story as you update as well.
I know that helped me as I was watching the stream go on too, Ray. You did an excellent job yesterday. And is there anything else that you'd like to say to our viewers who may want to learn more or try to understand more about this prison recommendation?
Yeah, we have basically a page that's the prison page on our website because we've done extensive coverage and we're continuing to do. One of our reporters is at the prison doing a tour today. So, if you go to our website, you can search prison stories and, man, they'll have a ton of them that'll just pop up. Mm-hmm. And I think the other thing to stress is this is a recommendation, and that was part of the discussion yesterday too, is what do we think will pass the legislature?
Yeah.
So this is a recommendation, as you said right at the start. Things are going to happen as there becomes a special session, and what is going to be the discussion there, and will it pass or will there be some tweaking?
Because they're going to need 2/3 of the majority vote on both chambers for it to pass and go through, right?
Yeah, that's my understanding.
I think
I'm not 100% sure on that because it doesn't pop to the top of my mind.
No problem.
But yeah. Yeah, so there's the process yet to go through.
Yes. Well, Ray, thank you so much for joining me at the digital desk. And as Ray said, we do have that tab that shows that entire timeline of the reports that we've had about Project Prison Reset. If you head to our website, kellerland.com, you can find that tab and find those articles. Just scan that QR code that you see on your screen. And stick around for Inside the Newsroom because up next, we are talking to South Dakota airport travelers about a new TSA update that involves your shoes. Stay with us. Welcome back to Inside the Newsroom. Announced on Tuesday, travelers will no longer be required to take off their shoes for security screenings at U.S. airports.
The key to our approach is layered security. Passengers will still pass through multiple layers of screening. They'll also go through identity verification. We anticipate that Americans and travelers and those coming into our country will be very excited.
Our reporter Jordan DeSmit caught up with some travelers at our South Dakota airport yesterday. Jordan, what did you hear from travelers?
Yeah, I think a big consensus was that honestly they were welcoming it because they thought, well, it's less of an inconvenience. It's going to make security checks a lot quicker. But I also asked them, well, could you see why the policy was there in the first place? And it was really there in the first place because, I don't know if it was directly because of it, but it was put in place several years after someone actually tried to light off an explosive in their shoe on a flight. So, I mean, they understood, for security reasons, I can understand why it was there in the first place. But for the most part, they were like, this is going to be a lot more efficient as we go through security.
So did we see that policy shift take place yesterday, or is that policy still going to be in place for a little bit, or was it effective immediately?
So, Kristi Noem did say that it would be effective immediately. So when I was at the airport, people were still taking their shoes off, which was interesting because I didn't think I'd have to film people taking their shoes off ever as a reporter, but I had to yesterday. But people were taking the shoes off yesterday, but I think after Noem's press conference, which was at about 4:00 yesterday, she did say, yes, this is effective immediately.
Well, take some new B-roll today. Go over and see people keeping their shoes on as they're going through screening. Quite impressive. Was there anything that people said that kind of shocked you or surprised you as you were gathering that man on the street style interview?
I mean, not necessarily. I feel like when you do that, you catch some people off guard a little bit. A reporter approaches you in the airport and you think, what in the world's going on? But it was nothing really groundbreaking or earth-shattering. I think the main consensus, like I said, was, it's going to make it more efficient, but I can see why they had this policy in the first place.
Do you like these types of reports where you have to grab a lot of people, a lot of strangers, and just be like, hey, do you have a quick minute to talk?
I mean, I would say personally, I'm naturally, even though I'm a reporter, I'm naturally more of an introvert. So this is actually kind of tough for me. I've gotten better at it as I've gotten to be a reporter. But it honestly also depends on how long it takes me to get them, because sometimes I go 2 for 2, 3 for 3, and I'm rolling. Sometimes I'm swinging and missing, and I go 0 for 10 before I finally get one. I would say this one that I did yesterday, it was a lot easier. I did get it, if I remember, I had 1 or 2 no's first, but I got what I needed pretty quick, I would say.
I'm actually impressed that you said that you're more of an introvert, because I think I'm more of an introvert too, but I wouldn't think of you as an introvert. I think you're much more extroverted, but like, I think that just goes to show that this job really pulls that skill out of you that you really didn't think you have. How have you seen more of that extroverted side of you come out through reporting and just doing broadcast journalism?
I would say I've learned that I'm going to have to be an extrovert at times for sure. And I think what helps me as well is that, like, for the most part, I'm talking to a camera. I'm not talking necessarily to people, so that helps a little bit. But I would say I've become more of an extrovert because I'm able to have those conversations. And I think I've gotten better at getting people to open up to me and talk to me and things like that. So
yeah, creating that comfortability, creating that rapport with people, those relationships. You do a great job, Jordan. Is there anything else that you'd like to say about your TSA story or anything else in general?
No, not necessarily. I would say I think it's going to be a lot easier to go through airports now. And this is something that, I think when you look at it on the surface, you think, oh, maybe that's not that big of a deal. But it is, because it's a new policy that's going to affect everybody now across the country. So it's a big deal. And I hope people understand that TSA might get a little easier now.
Yeah, keep your shoes on. And then what are you working on for today?
So today I actually went, I kid you not, right across the street at the Shriner building. And I am working on a story today where the VA held an event where they kind of did a Q&A back and forth with some veterans who maybe had some questions about potential benefits, which I think is pretty cool. So you'll expect that full report tonight.
Awesome. Jordan, thank you so much for sharing those details. And yes, you can see Jordan's full report tonight on our KELOLAND newscast. And stick around for Inside the Newsroom, because up next, we're bringing in our favorite meteorologist from the digital desk to talk about potential severe weather that we could see for the rest of the week. Stay with us. Welcome back to Inside the Newsroom. Severe storms rolled through KELOLAND on Monday, so our meteorologist Adam Rutt takes us back in time to look at that severe weather.
In what has already been an active start to the month, Monday featured another round of severe weather. This time it was mostly East River, with a few exceptions to the west. A frontal boundary pushed eastward through the afternoon and evening, interacting with an unstable air mass over eastern KELOLAND. By mid to late afternoon, the first storms began to fire up and push east by southeast. While most of the severe warnings were wind-related, with several confirmed gusts of 60 to 70 miles per hour, we had several reports of large hail. Golf ball to lime-sized hail was observed south of Wagner and Dante, with additional reports northeast of Lesterville. We also had some rotation within that same storm in Yankton County, which prompted a tornado warning that included the city of Yankton. While no touchdown has been confirmed, there were a few clues that warranted such a warning, including a rotation signature and a hook signature near Utica. The good news is that we're going to get a small break from the action through a good portion of Wednesday. The bad news is that additional chances for strong to severe storms come around by Thursday into Friday.
But after Monday, Scott Munt joining us now, I thought the sky looked beautiful. This is a photo I took, Scott, because I was inside during all of the storms. And then when I walked outside, it was just gorgeous out. By around like that 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock hour on Monday, I just thought it was stunning. But I did miss the storms, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, what you took there are pictures of mammatus clouds. We have some cold air that's sinking out of that cloud, and it creates that effect that it's sagging cloud covers. What it is, those little pockets. That's some cold air that's coming out of the cloud. So yeah, a lot of mammatus clouds were shown during the evening hours on Monday.
Yep.
And we have more showers and thunderstorms in our forecast going into the rest of the week.
And that's kind of the scary part, isn't it? Because I don't know, like on Mondays, just looking at the severe weather chances that came in, are we going to see any of that for tonight?
Well, we do have a severe weather outlook. We have a slight risk for severe weather. A lot of this is focused across western and central South Dakota. We'll go through a couple of the threats with this, too. So that's our outlook for today. And I would say even going into this evening, maybe early tonight. There is a wind risk. We're looking at a 15% chance for that area highlighted in yellow. What does that mean? That means you take any point in that yellow area in about a 25-mile radius, you have that chance of a severe wind risk if a storm does develop. So that's up to 15%. But we also look a little deeper inside of what's going on in the atmosphere, and we can get what's known as significant wind threat, which is at least 75 miles per hour or greater. Now, that is showing up throughout much of central South Dakota. That's a look at our wind threat. There's also that hail risk, and that shows up as 15% with any storm that develops across central, western South Dakota. Significant hail can be hail size of 2 inches or more.
Wow.
And it's at least 10% chance to see something. I would say mainly into north central South Dakota has the best chance to see significant hail. And then there is enough spin in the atmosphere that we have to bring in a tornado risk too. And that is showing up as a 2% chance. Central, north central South Dakota. So all modes of severe weather possible for today. We also run the risk of severe weather for tomorrow. And you can see that's a marginal to slight risk. The slight risk is in south central South Dakota. We'll go through the same thing. The modes of severe weather, it's looking like wind and hail. I don't think we'll have as much of a threat as seeing a tornado warning or two, but there's the wind threat followed by the hail risk, not as great, but still it comes in around 5% chance for all of South Dakota, for all of KELOLAND for that matter. South Dakota, western Minnesota, northwestern Iowa, and there is that tornado risk that takes us mainly into central to, we'll say, west central Nebraska for that area highlighted in green. So we'll run that risk for severe weather today, tomorrow, and then we also have a risk of some heavy rainfall.
Heavy rainfall coming in too. Scott,
Yes.
didn't you just do a story about our updated drought monitor? What did that look like?
Well, it is slowly improving in parts of KELOLAND because things have been hit and miss. You know, we've had our heavy rain in eastern and northeastern South Dakota. A new drought monitor will come out tomorrow.
Oh,
comes out
okay.
once a week. It comes out once a week. They assess it on Tuesdays, and then they come out with it on Thursdays. So it'll come out tomorrow. But we had our heavy rains. We know about the flooding they had, Aberdeen, Watertown, last weekend. We've missed out on some of those rains in parts of central to maybe south central South Dakota. Winter has been able to catch a thunderstorm or two over the past week. So they've been able to receive some heavier rainfall there. And we've had our hit and miss rains in the southeastern South Dakota. And that's what it comes down to. Where and when these thunderstorms develop. What we're looking at here is how much moisture is in the atmosphere. And it'll be stacked with moisture, not for everybody, but in spots of eastern South Dakota. You could see this during the evening hours for tonight. Any storms that do develop, they do run the risk of having some heavy rainfall with them. Unfortunately, it takes us into the Aberdeen area again.
Yeah.
That's that higher bullseye you see there in red, as well as parts of southeastern South Dakota. As we go through time, Thursday we'll also watch for showers and thunderstorms. What about the chances of seeing heavy rainfall? It shows up, though it's not as high as what we have maybe for this evening. It does show up near Huron, maybe down toward the Mitchell area, we'll say. Now, as we go through time, it's Thursday night into Friday. Then we start to see these brighter colors come in again, the orange and the red, and you're getting closer to the high end of the scale when you look at the upper right-hand portion of the screen of the moisture that's stacked in the atmosphere. So as we go through the overnight hours, Thursday night and the Friday, you do notice the heavy rain potential, we'll call it potential, in northeastern South Dakota. That eventually moves into southeastern KELOLAND. You have that line from southwestern Minnesota into southeastern South Dakota. And then for Friday, I think a lot of this starts to fill in, especially in much of the state of Iowa.
Yeah.
That's Friday afternoon. And we are carrying our rain chance right through Friday. So be prepared. Things will might get a little soggy for some of us across eastern South Dakota.
That makes me scared because that means the bugs are going to come out.
I was waiting for that too. I noticed them on Monday.
On Monday. Well, after the rain.
After the rain,
Yeah.
after the rain, I noticed them on Monday.
It's the mosquitoes that get me. Nope, I can't do it. Last summer was ruined for me because of all the rain that we had, but the bugs that came out, like the gnats and the mosquitoes that came out after all the rain.
Well, you have to go out in long sleeves.
But I don't do that, Scott.
No, and then you're too warm.
Then I'm
Going
too
back to
warm.
this temperature thing?
Yeah, exactly. I like to get a little sun on my skin with sunscreen, of course. I got roasted before by people and the sun for not wearing my sunscreen. So
Okay, what about bug repellent?
bug repellent, I
Put
love
that
bug
on?
repellent. Yes.
Okay, all right,
Yes.
so put that on and you can still go outside.
I guess so. But then I kind of stink. Don't you? I don't know. I guess you could get the bug repellent that has like the nice scents on it. What is it? Is it the grass? No, it's not grass. What is that scent that they put on it? We're not experts. We don't endorse. We're not experts
Citrusella?
on this.
Was that
something?
whatever?
It's something
Yeah.
citrusy that I think it's lemongrass. I think that's what I'm
Okay,
thinking
whatever.
of that you
I
put
mean,
on.
that's fine.
And that smells fine, but it just sounds like a tea. And then I'm like, don't I sound like a tasty snack to the bugs? Viewers, please don't listen to me. Like the repellent works and the lemongrass works, but I don't know. That's just how I feel.
What a fun tangent we went on.
I know, that's my rant. My managers are going to be watching now and they're like, cut it. No more. Scott and Maddie
Stick
can't
to
be
the
together.
script.
Yes, exactly. Well, is there anything else our viewers should know about our incoming rain chances for Wednesday through Friday or any other severe weather?
Well, I was going to say, how about the weekend? Well, watch this stuff run through. Today, tomorrow, Friday, and then the weekend's looking dry. Probably start a little cool on Saturday. Highs may be in the upper 70s, low 80s in eastern South Dakota. And then by the time we get into Sunday, we're looking at 90-degree heat to return.
Oh, see, now you're speaking
There
my
we go.
language. Will we see these clouds again, Scott, do you think?
We could. The setup's not much different than what we had on Monday. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do see some Amatis clouds after the rains leave.
Because then when people missed it on Monday, maybe they can go out again and get that classic photo shoot that they need. That's what I wish I did. I was like, why wasn't I standing under the clouds and like taking a selfie or something? Then it would have looked fun.
Yeah, and we've had some great pictures of clouds come in too. Especially during the morning hours on our live cams. It's just great looking live cams we've had with sunrises, and we've had some storms come through during the morning hours. It just adds to the picture.
I think the Midwest has a really beautiful landscape for that type of.
We do.
Like the aftermath of the storms. It's like
Yeah,
our
we do.
sunsets are so gorgeous too.
We do. I
People
know there are
from the
bad
coast.
parts about weather, such as severe weather, but there's a lot of beauty in it too.
Always not always the aftermath, I should say.
No.
The damages. Well, everyone stick around. We're still going to have more coming up next on Inside the Newsroom. We're wrapping up on Inside the Newsroom today, but guess what? Up next, if you stay on KELOLAND Plus, you could watch Storm Center Plus with our meteorologist Scott Munt, who's joining us now, of course, and Brian Karstens. Scott, what's on the docket today?
Well, we're talking about the immediate forecast, our chances for strong to severe weather today, tomorrow. Talk about the heavy rain, much like what you and I just talked about a little bit ago. But we're also throwing in the pattern going ahead for the next 2 weeks. Something that you probably don't want to hear, so go ahead and cover your ears. I know they're already covered, but
Tuck them in more.
tuck them in because we are looking at cooler weather that can come in around the middle of the month, around the 17th, maybe the 18th of the month. We're following what could be a surge of some much cooler air with temperatures falling to the 70s for highs. In the morning, you may have to grab your winter jacket. Talking just to you,
Yeah, I was
Maddie.
going to say,
Okay,
I will
everybody else, I think, will be
absolutely
fine. I know we had that one morning where we fell, I think, to near 60.
That was a day. I remember that.
And
I
you're
wanted
like,
to
I
yep.
need a winter coat.
Yes, I needed it.
Do you
for
keep
real.
hat and gloves in your car?
I keep here actually
All year
at the
round?
station. I keep them here, yeah. And then I have a heating pad at my desk because I need to bring my coat. I should have 2 coats.
Okay. Well, then I guess you won't like that cool down in mid-July.
I'm a different breed, I suppose. Different human race. I can't stand it. Scott, thank you so much for joining me at the digital desk. And everyone, make sure you stick around to watch Storm Center Plus airing next after Inside the Newsroom. We'll be back tomorrow at 1 o'clock for Inside the Newsroom. And until then, have a great day, everyone.